Thank you, Brian, for that kind introduction, for that kind welcome, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, Pam, for escorting me. When they told me you did escort work, I got completely the wrong impression.
I am more of a writer than a speaker. This is a relatively new venture for me. In fact, David Molson booked me on the strength of an advert in the Rotary magazine, which I wrote myself. It was an article in the journal. But it's, even so, I wrote that too. And it's so reassuring to know that in this highly sophisticated, highly technological, increasingly cynical age that we live in, you can still fool some of the people.
People do get me what I do. They tend to ask me one of two things. They say, have you ever interviewed anybody famous? I say, what's so-and-so really like? I've got a little list here. So we'll start with Keith Floyd, sober. Johnny Vegas, sober. Frank Highfield, drunk. Very. Martin Clunes, you'll know from Doc Martin and maybe Bradley, open, charming, amusing, as you'd expect. Vanessa Feltz. Oh dear. It says here, whinging, manipulative, self-pitying, self-publicist. Noel Edmonds, see Vanessa Feltz.
I've researched my speech and I've practiced my speech, rehearsed it at home, but there's nothing quite like putting your work in front of a live audience, or as near to live as you can find at such a moment.
As Christabel, Liz was in very dowdy clothes, sort of shapeless cardigans, grey twin sets, under a disastrous hairstyle with horrible little Arthur Astley spectacles. It wasn't a role in which her natural glamour was allowed to shine. So perhaps to make up for that, on the day, Liz was almost wearing a very tiny red dress whose neck plunged so precipitously this way that it almost met the rising tide of the head. For some reason, she was sat on a leather chair, but the seating arrangements for the journalists were much more informal. I had to sit on this low poof. I forget his name. But I was literally sat not 3 feet directly opposite her on this low red leather poof. We were all sat on these little poofs. And it wasn't so much eye-to-eye contact as eye-to-thigh. He died, didn't you know? He died last night on live TV. I said, you're joking, I was supposed to be interviewing him on Thursday. Well, obviously it was worse for Tommy than it was for me.
Many years ago I interviewed the comedian Tom O'Connor, who told a very good story about this, about putting your work in context. And the story involved an amateur actor who was given one line in an historical drama. And the line was, "Hark, I hear the cannons roar." Now he turned up for a few rehearsals early on, and the producer rather took pity on him with his one line, dragging him to all his rehearsals. He said, "Look, you're doing it fine, go home, turn up on the night, practice at home, you'll be fine." So the actor goes home, and morning, noon and night it's, "Hark, I hear the cannons roar." The night of the performance comes around, and he's standing on stage very confidently, awaiting his cue, and he's about to deliver the line, and the stage manager gives the signal for the sound effect. And there's an almighty bang backstage, and the actor says, "Bloody hell, what was that?"